The Green Bay Packers are going to take some pass rushers in this draft. So who do we like? Who fits? Let's dig in on today's show.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. You will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. You have a favorite pass rusher in this class. I know you do. And the Packers certainly have a favorite pass rusher in this class. We talked on the show yesterday, if you missed it, about the value. And I like to look at longer term value, not just, okay, what is it this year, but longer term. And we talked about the value that the Packers could get on the edge versus the interior. I think there are more opportunities for an interior pass rusher to make an impact over the course of that rookie deal than someone on the edge, merely because the Packers have these guys in Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary for the near future. We don't know the future of Carl Brooks or Devontae Wyatt or Kenny Clark. TJ Slayton just walked out the door. So there's already an opportunity to walk into snaps from day one. The question that the Packers have to answer is, what kind of interior player do they want? I'm taking it as a given that they want an interior player because just from a body standpoint, they need some more interior players. Do you want the guy who can play some nose tackle on early downs, but on third down can stay on the field? Do you want someone who you think has more upside as a 3-technique full-time pass rusher, can stop the run type player, and then on day 3, you get a run-stuffing nose tackle? I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this. I think it also has to be taken in tandem with what we see on the edge. So I watched and broke down and wrote up scouting reports for, and we're not going to go through all of them, for all of the players in the athletic top 40, but the index board. So you take the consensus boards from around the internet. I don't know exactly which ones they took, but the top 40 players. And there's not another defensive tackle on the list until 50. So we're thinking first round here. We're going to go through in more depth as we get closer to the draft, some of the guys that I like on day 2, day 3, but let's start here, because when you try and stack these things, you want to find guys at positions of scarcity, or at least with traits of scarcity, pass rush being the scarcest of traits in these situations. And what you want is the most complete player. Brian Gutekunst talked about wanting complete players, not designated pass rushers, not guys who you don't really want to have on the field on early downs. Now, that's one of the reasons why, when it comes to defensive tackles, I want to just get this out of the way up front. I'm just kind of blind out on defensive tackles who, I guess it's not blind because you have to see it first, who only win with quickness. I'm just never going to like those kinds of players, because at the NFL level, eventually you're going to need to get off a block. And in order to be a good run defender, you're going to have to get off blocks. You can't just be a splash run defender. You can't just be a guy who shoots gaps and makes tackles in the backfield. You're just not going to do that often enough to be a consistent enough player. And there are a couple players in this draft who everyone seems to like. And I'm like, this is me every year. I'm going, hey, everyone likes these flash interior pass rushers, and I don't. I want you to be able to get off blocks. And so let's start with these defensive tackles. I think the best defensive tackle in this draft is the guy everyone's connecting to Green Bay right now. And it's not because everyone is connecting him to Green Bay. I watched Derek Harmon's tape. At his age, the multiple years of major college football, not going to be 22 until like Halloween. The long arms, the big body, the ability to control blockers, to get into the backfield. He wins late on like every pass rush rep. Like every pass rush rep, even if he doesn't win off the snap, he's winning late and flashing color in the quarterback's face. That's valuable. And if you look at the win rates, he led college football among interior defensive linemen in pressures. And he wins consistently. I look at him and I go, he can get off blocks and he can win jumping the snap, winning with quickness, arm over, swim move, get into the backfield and create. The only reason he's not an elite prospect for me is he lacks that last little extra gear to close to the ball carrier with burst. He's got a little bit of that Devontae Wyatt in him where you're going, if you could just finish more of these plays. Now with Devontae Wyatt, it's not that he doesn't have the burst. He does. He plays a little out of control at times. And so he can't break down and make these tackles. For Harmon, it's more, I think there's just like one little tick on the dial of athleticism that he's missing. But he does everything else so well that I just like him more than some of these other guys. Yes, I like him more than Mason Graham, who again, I think is a first round player. I would like to see him win more often getting off blocks, but he's got short arms. He's not an elite athlete. He's going to go way before the Packers have a chance to pick. It's not going to matter. But if Derek Harmon, who I think is like one of the 15 best players in this draft, falls to the Packers, I know I don't like to say fall, but based on the way I see it, Green Bay, it is an easy win for Green Bay. He is the highest pass rusher, we'll get to the defensive ends, that I think is likely to be there for the Packers. So my highest ranked pass rusher. So he, to me, and I know this was true before, but I have been able to sit down, look at the tape, look at the numbers, look at the Pro Football Focus grades, the tracking data, all that good stuff. I think he is the number one target for Green Bay because I think he is the number one interior pass rusher in this group. That's not to say he's the only one. I ended up liking Walter Nolan way more than I thought I would. At 6'4", 296. Now, he would be the smallest defensive tackle that the Packers have taken in the top 100 picks. Like ever. Not literally ever, but in the Wolf, Thompson, Gutekunst era. I know 296 does not seem very small, but it would be the smallest. Jarrell Worthy was 298, and he was like 6'2" and change. So he was a thicker, stockier guy than Walter Nolan. But Walter Nolan plays some on the end. I wonder if they would consider, hey, be a little bit Eric Armsteady for us. Come in and you can play some base defensive end. You see the flexibility. You can see it in there. He is absolutely someone that I would be interested in at the 23rd pick, assuming there's some attitude questions, some culture. I almost said cancel culture. Some culture, some culture and attitude questions with him. But if, there were some with Devontae Wyatt too. I don't think that would take him off the Packers board. He is a violent player. And I really like the flexibility, the versatility that he would bring. The other guy that I think is a potential first round option for the Packers is someone we mentioned yesterday is the other Kenneth Grant. At 6'3" and change, 330, the movement skills, the pass rush upside, his movement skills for a guy his size are out of this world. They're out of this world. He doesn't quite know, like Ricky Bobby, what to do with his hands. And he needs to get stronger in his upper body because he should be able to, with his explosiveness, convert speed to power like it's nothing because he's so explosive. And he doesn't. So I don't know if that's a weight room thing. The upper body's got to get a little bit stronger. I do think it is a technique thing, but the upside for him. So to me, he's got a late first grade. So the 23rd pick, absolutely in range for where you think he could go. Probably only 18 to 20 first round grades in this class. So those are the guys. And then the next tier of players is like Tyleik Williams, who's really just a run stopper. TJ Sanders, who's more of an interior pass rusher. Norman Lott, same thing. So there's a difference in caliber of player. This group to me is very appealing. Those three players are all guys that I think make a ton of sense. Now, the question is, where are those guys relative to the top edge players that could potentially go in the first round? So how do we tier them? How do we order them? Let's go through that next on Locked On Packers. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries. Hopefully you don't get an injury looking for the right talent. With Upwork, they make it easy, including AI, IT, web development, marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. It would be simple for you using Upwork. Why would you not want to make your life more simple? Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. You know what happens today. You know who plays today. You know what the deal is, what's starting. The insanity that is about to unfurl before us. Getting tickets shouldn't be insanity. That's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices, because curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. That's what Gametime Picks gives you. Plus, with the lowest price guarantee, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. So for my money, Abdul Carter is the best player in this class. We don't need to discuss anything more. He's not going to be there at 23 for Green Bay. Now, I am a little weird here. Mykel Williams from Georgia, I love. And he is not normally my kind of player. I normally love the twitched up guys who can dip and bend the edge. And he can do that at 6'5", 260. But the power that he can play with, the flexibility, the versatility that he can play with, I really, really like what that complete package is for Green Bay. Someone who can play on the edge, can hold up against the run. And when he gets the opportunity to just pin his ears back, someone who has been rushing the passer in the SEC since he was 18 years old. I want to bet on those kinds of players. Still a young player too. I mean, I don't think he can legally drink. So I'm willing to bet on those guys. If Mykel Williams, he is the most realistic player, or the best player the Packers could realistically get of the pass rushers to me. I have him as a top 10 player in this class. And I'd like a top 10 kind of grade. So if we're tiering these guys, and I'm saying, okay, who do I think would be the best to fall at 23, to land there at 23? To me, the top of that list is Mykel Williams. Derek Harmon is in the next tier down and is at the top of that next tier in terms of pass rushers. After that, it's Mike Green from Marshall. Now, there are size concerns with Mike Green. He's 6'3", 251. Does not have the crazy long arms that Donovan Ezeraku does. We're going to get to him in a second. And there are some past red flags. He's dealing with teams, certainly, answering questions about 2 sexual assault allegations. He answered questions about it at the combine. Teams are going to have to decide their comfort level with that. On the field, from a guy who's not playing at a Power 5, he is everything that you would want on the field. He can defend the run better than someone you would think for someone who's only 251 pounds. Now that's against smaller competition, smaller school competition. But the twitch, the burst, the explosiveness, the problem for a lot of these guys Walter Nolan, we don't have testing for. The Packers don't take players in the first round who do not have testing. Kenneth Grant, we do not yet have testing for. Mike Green, we do not yet have testing for. That's problematic. We need to see these numbers. So this is numbers pending, but I try not to move guys down out of the tape first. I know a lot of you are like, he's an analytics guy. It's going to be about the numbers and the underwear Olympics. I care deeply about traits, but we start with the tape always. So the next guy down for me, Donovan Ezeraku, a cleaner prospect, thicker player, longer arms, major college. Boston College is not a blue blood program, but played in the ACC. Highly, highly productive, just like Mike Green, 16 and a half sacks last year. The only pass rusher sub 7.3 cone at the combine. He and Mike Green are a step above Walter Nolan to me, but in the same tier. So you have Michael Williams, that's tier 1. That is like green light special. If he's there, run the card up. The next group, Derek Harmon, Mike Green, Donovan Ezeraku, Walter Nolan. That's a tier of players for me. So that's the next group. And that's assuming in this case, the Packers are comfortable with the background. I can only tell you what I know based on the tape. So that's that tier of players. I have Shamar Stewart and Kenneth Grant as late first round picks. That is about, let me read to you. This is the grading scale that NFL.com uses. This is a borderline first, second round player. Prospect who produces exciting flashes in college and carries an exciting combination of size, strength, or speed. He is an elite player ceiling, but a bust floor due to concerns surrounding character, injury, or lack of skill development. That is the definition of what Shamar Stewart and Kenneth Grant are. They are players who, if they put their physical tools together, if you can coach them up, they are all pro caliber players. Do you think you have the right coaches in Green Bay to do that? You just brought in a new defensive line coach. Vince Ogabasi is Jeff Hafley's guy. Do you think you can have these guys? So I think Shamar Stewart is probably going to go before the Packers pick, but this is where I have him graded. I do just want to quickly mention that Landon Jackson I have as an early second round player. He, from a size standpoint at 6'6", 264, a big defensive end, but a freaky athlete. And you see it on tape. You see it on tape. It's not all there together. The flexibility that you want to dip and bed the edge, not always there. But he is someone that I don't think is out of the question for the Packers at 23 by any means. But notice the number of names here. Michael Williams, Mike Green, Donovan Ezeraku, Shamar Stewart, Landon Jackson, 5 guys. And then you look at the tackles, Harmon, Nolan, Grant. Because, Mason Graham is going to be off the board. There are fewer of these T1A defensive tackles. There are more of the pass rushers. And if you go on to day 2, this is where I think James Pierce is going to go off the board in day 2. Braden Swinson from LSU, Nick Scorton, Femi Oladejo. I didn't mention Jalen Walker because I'm not a big Jalen Walker guy. Sorry, I'm not. JTT is a day 2 guy. I think there's more day 2 players who the Packers are going to be interested in on the edge, which is exactly why we talked about scarcity of talent. Scarcity of talent. Who can you draft in the first round where talent profile, you're not going to find that guy later in the draft? And for me, it's Harmon, it's Nolan, and it's Grant. But that's not to say they shouldn't, there is a meaningful drop-off in talent. For me, after Landon Jackson, I don't have another pass rusher until the middle of, almost the end of the second round. Braden Swinson, right where the Packers draft, I have him 56 right now. It's sort of a rough estimate. Nick Scorton right behind. Nick Scorton would be a weird body type for the Packers. I'd be surprised if they went that way. James Pierce, a name I haven't mentioned. He's 6'5", 245. That is really, really light for the Packers, but they liked Will McDonald IV last year. I think they would have considered him Had Lucas Van Ness been off the board, he ended up having a really good year last year for the Jets. I don't know that they're that similar in terms of their ability, but there is a size similarity there. I just don't think size-wise the Packers want to get away from their preferences. And there's the attitude questions. If he makes it to 54, great. I think that's a great opportunity for them. Like if they came out of this with Kenneth Grant and James Pierce Jr., you'd feel really good about this pass rush. If they came out of this with Derek Harmon and Braden Swinson, you'd feel really good about this. I don't know if you'd feel the same way about Donovan Ezeraku and say TJ Sanders. Like you've improved your pass rush probably, but you've gotten significantly smaller. I don't know if that's the way that the Packers want to handle this. So when I look at the scarcity of talent and the scarcity of talent for players who fit the Packers' preferences, to me, I'm more likely, I understand you want to find your pass rushers early. I'm more likely to find a player that I think fits what I want to be defensively, what I value defensively. I'm speaking me as the Packers now, and then a little bit of the things that I personally value. I think you're more likely to do that with a defensive tackle in round 1 and an edge in round 2. You may find a receiver you like in round 2. There's some round 3 guys we're talking about here. I really like Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. And you get Jordan Birch as a round 3 guy. Josiah Stewart, if they're willing to get out of their size preferences, man, he would be a breath of fresh air. He would be fun as hell in the 80s. I don't know that I can say the same thing about these defensive tackles, because what you're going to have to do with these defensive tackles is then you're going to have to make a choice. It is very rare the player who can do both. Can you get in there, stop the run? Can you be a de facto nose tackle on early downs? You got to be 310 plus to do that. Derek Harmon, 313. You're looking down the list, some of these other guys, 291, Omar Norman Lott, TJ Sanders, and he's 297, but that's not how he's built. You're going to have to make these trade-offs. So what I'd rather do is I'd rather find the complete tackle and then pick a pass rusher where I have to make some trade-offs. Maybe he's not as good a run defender, but I'm getting that designated pass rusher stuff, that third down juice. I'd much rather do that on the edge than on the interior. Because look at Devontae Wyatt. He is one of the top 20, top 15 interior pass rushers in the entire league by any metric you want to look at. He can't stay on the field on early downs. So that's problematic. And he's not as good an interior pass rusher as some of these guys are on the exterior, the edge guys. You're more likely to get a designated pass rusher on the edge who makes an impact play to play. Every third down, he's on the field. Every 3rd and 8, every 2nd and 12, he's on the field. You're getting impact. You're less likely to get that by and large from players you're going to have to make those trade-off with. Plus, you can always on day 3 find that just like plugger type, that big nose tackle who's just going to eat up space for you. So that's the edge guys first round edition. We're going to get to some of the guys down the line. I've done the full edge workup. I have not done the full defensive tackle workup. Still have to watch more of some of these guys, Alfred Collins, Joshua Farmer, Darius Alexander. I have to watch and study. So we'll get to more of this conversation. I think there's going to be a lot more to be had here. I want to talk about some of the rule changes that were proposed because there's some good ones in there. Let's talk about that next on Locked On Packers.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. Now that the season is over, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. A couple rule changes that I want to talk about. The Packers officially proposed the end of the tush push. Really, what I would like them to do with the tush push, I've said this before, I will reiterate, is enforce the rules already on the books. Make sure the offense is lined up correctly. Make sure the defense is lined up correctly. That would be a good start. And then just make it so you can't push the players. You can't push the pile. That used to be the rule. And now they kind of don't really care. So what the Packers are saying is explicitly, you cannot push the quarterback on a quarterback sneak. They've just got to be the guy. I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't really care. What I would like them to do is enforce the rules, because the Eagles, like every play, line up offsides. And then like the Packers have gotten called for it more times in 2 years of doing the tush push, which they do like once every 3 weeks, than the Eagles, who do it 5 times a game, and they line up the exact same way every week, offside. So I just want them to call it consistently. The Lions, and I have to give kudos here. The Lions proposed seeding by record versus the wild card format that is currently out there. I appreciate the non-sour grapesness of this, that a team that won a historically good regular season division is saying it wasn't fair. The Vikings won 14 games and had to play a road playoff game against a team with 4 fewer wins. That it's not fair that the Green Bay Packers with 11 wins, now they would have, had to probably play a road playoff game anyway, but it would have been a different road playoff game. I appreciate that about Detroit. Them saying, well, we won, but we think this is an inequitable distribution of seedings. And they're right. I talked about it last year. You win your division, you get a playoff spot. That's it. Everything is seeded by record. That would be the solution. And for those of you who want to say, well, what if someone's division is just really good? Okay. No one is winning a really good division with 9 wins. You know how I know that? I just saw the best regular season division ever. There was a 15-win team, a 14-win team, an 11-win team. If there's multiple really, really good teams in your division, no one is winning that division with 9 wins. Like the NFC North was pretty tough this last year. Baltimore Ravens did not have 9 wins. There were times in the 90s when the NFC East was an absolute dogfight. The NFC Central was an absolute dogfight. No one was winning it with 9 wins. A team that has 9 wins because they play in a bad division, it's never happened in the history of the sport that a really good division was won by a 9-win team. And in fact, I would argue it's never been the case that a really good team with 9 wins has won the division, because really good teams usually win more than 9 games. So there's your current situation is a solution in search of a problem. Seed them by the best record. You're not doing away with divisions. Winning your division still gets you in. You're still getting some prize for that. But you're not over rewarding that. Overtime rules. The Eagles rightly proposed that the overtime rules in the playoffs, where both teams get to hold the ball, be a regular season rule. Good. It should be. And I'm going to take you one further. The rule should be, forget a kickoff, ball at the 50. Ball at the 50. You got to go score. You're 10 yards from long field goal range. The 25-year-old, like that stuff and the 2-point conversion stuff in college football, it became gimmicky. 50-yard line. No one needs to kick off in overtime. So one team can start with the ball, one team can finish with the ball. And there are still some of you holding out this misbegotten idea that, well, defense is part of the game too, and so you should have to get a stop. To this I say, what does getting a stop earn you? The chance to go score and win. What do you not have on the first drive if you're on defense? The chance to hold the ball and score and win. So, by definition, it is not an equitable system. This is a better system. Both teams should be able to possess the ball. I like the, if they get a field goal, you can have a chance to rebut. No. It's a half measure. Make it so both teams have to possess the ball, period, end of story. The last one is one near and dear to my heart. The Lions, because all they want to do is mangle receivers because they want to play a bunch more man coverage. They want to make illegal contact and holding not automatic first downs. I am willing to engage on defensive pass interference. You know this. I hate the spot file for defensive pass interference. 15-yard penalty, done. But what they want to do is make it a 5-yard penalty and not an automatic first down. The problem is that's not punitive enough for holding. On offense, if you hold, it is a 10-yard penalty. And you replay the down. And it's a 10-yard penalty from the spot. So it often ends up being like a 13-yard penalty because it's a 10-yard penalty from where the holding takes place. So this is one of those things where it's already actually favoring the defense, that it's only 5 yards. Now, if you want to say holding on both sides is 10 yards and replay the down, okay, I guess, because that would be, you know, the equitable distribution there. Because if it's 3rd and 10 and you have a holding call, now it's 3rd and 20. But if it's 3rd and 20 and you get a holding call, now it's 3rd and 10. From a defensive standpoint, I understand how that seems fair. But that's not the proposal. And illegal contact, I've seen people say, oh, well, what they should do actually is if the illegal contact takes place within 10 yards, the spot foul and go. Like, no. Because what if the illegal contact or the holding is on a double move? What you're doing is you're holding because you know you could give up a touchdown if you don't. That's why it's an automatic first down. So illegal contact and holding 5 yards and an automatic first down. If you want to make holding the same as offensive holding, 10 yards, and you replay the down, I'm kind of fine with that. And we need to fix the pass interference one. They don't actually want to do that, though. So I don't know what to tell you there. I would like to change the pass interference. And if you wanted to tell me you wanted to take away illegal contact in general, I'm fine with that too. Before the ball is thrown, you can get a little physical with the receivers. I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. They've already taken away the rules where you can't headhunt anymore across the middle of the field. So I'd be happy to give a little bit of that back to the defense. You want to play press, you still can't hold. But the contact stuff, I even like get annoyed with myself because I'm like, that's illegal contact, but like that's also just football. Now sometimes they can get a little trippy, or you know, you get knocked down. Like I don't know if I love that. I would be happy to just say, you know, you can ride guys. Careful, pause. You know, you can have your physicality without going over the top. I'm fine with that. You watch the right high school team, like in high school, you can basically deck guys coming across the middle of the field. Like you have linebackers that before the ball is thrown, you could just take the tight end out. That's not what you want. That's not what you want. All right, back tomorrow. Much more here on Locked On Packers. Follow me on all the social medias, Peter_Bukowski on X, on Instagram. It's whatever it is on Blue Sky, but you just search my name and you'll find it. YouTube, iTunes. Leave us a rating, leave a review. We're here for you every day so you can stay Locked On Packers.